Everyone. It's an honor to speak to you today. I want to start with addressing a simple question. When you think about financial inclusion for women, what comes to mind? Maybe you picture a woman opening her first bank account, a mother receiving a microloan, or a young entrepreneur sending money through a mobile app. These are powerful images, but I want to dig deeper because we're not just talking about providing women access to finance. We're talking about reshaping the very system that excluded half the population for generations. We're talking about revolutionizing power itself. Over the last decade, we've made strides that were only once unimaginable. Inclusive finance has brought millions of women into the fold of economic life. But have we truly transformed the system? Have we unlocked the full potential of women's economic power? And the answer, my friends, is no, not yet. And that's the truth we must face if we are serious about real change in the next decade. Today, I want to share with you what we've achieved for women through inclusive finance. But more importantly, I want to highlight the gaps we've left wide open and what it will take for us to close them. So let's celebrate what we've achieved in the last decade. First, let's acknowledge the profound impact financial inclusion has had on women. In the last decade, financial inclusion for women has risen from a dream to a reality for millions. Globally, more than 1.2 billion people have gained access to financial services, and women have been the major beneficiaries. Mobile money has spread across regions like sub-Saharan Africa and Asia, where women can open accounts, make payments, and build small businesses. Microfinance, long championed by Grameen Foundation and others, provides a start to a path of ending poverty, and now more women than men are recipients of these loans. So, what does this mean in practical terms? It means that today a woman in a rural village in India can save for her children's education, but also invest in her entrepreneurial dreams. It means that a mother in Uganda can make instant payments to her suppliers, eliminating costly travel and middlemen. It means that a young woman in the Philippines who once had no access to credit can now secure funds to open a small shop and, by extension, provide for her community as well. We have moved from a world where a majority of women were ignored within the financial system to a world where, in many countries, the financial inclusion gap between men and women has shrunk, an achievement many considered impossible. So let's talk about the ripple effect of enabling women. Beyond reaching just more women, inclusive finance has had a profound psychological and social impact. When a woman gains financial independence, the ripple effects go far beyond her individual success. We've seen that financially enabled women are more likely to invest in health, education, and nutrition for their families, resulting in stronger households, stronger communities, and local communities. Studies have shown that women tend to reinvest 90% of their income back into their families, compared to just 30 to 40% by men. Inclusive finance is not about giving women a seat at the economic table. It is about giving them tools to transform their families, their communities, and societies at large. Let's be clear, these transformations are not minor. Secondary benefits are not the core. They are the foundation of the economic sustainable growth for every country. Now let's think about the narrative for women entrepreneurs. In the past decade, long shattered stereotypes about women in business have been shattered. We've witnessed the rise of millions of women entrepreneurs, many of them in the informal sector. Women who were once merely seen as caretakers have become architects of their own financial futures. They've built businesses, employed others, generated wealth, not just for their communities, but for their economies. Take, for an example, the incredible growth of women-led micro and small businesses in Africa and Asia. These businesses started small, but they are the backbone of local economies. As women rise in the marketplace, they challenge societal norms and open doors for future generations. This is not just about finance, it is about rewriting the script of what it means to be a woman in the 21st century. So, where are the gaps here? The biggest challenge we've seen is that we aren't able to bring innovative thinking from people like you. We've made remarkable progress, but we've not yet arrived at our end goal. For every woman who has benefited from financial inclusion, there are still way too many that are left behind. Those that do not get access to finance continue to face challenges like increased loan rates, harmful societal norms, competing for economic goals with their spouse and within their household. Let's face it, the digital gender divide is real. While mobile money and digital financial services have revolutionized access, they haven't reached everyone equally. Across low and middle income countries, there are still women are 7% less likely than men to own a mobile phone and 16% less likely to use mobile internet. These gaps may seem small, but they're enormous barriers when it comes to scaling financial inclusion. In regions where mobile technology is the primary access point for financial services, women are still lagging. Why? It's not because they don't own a phone. It's about digital literacy. It's about cultural norms and even safety. In many places, women aren't fighting for access to finance. They're fighting for the very tools that enable access to finance. If we want to close the financial inclusion gap in the next decade, we must fix the digital divide first. This isn't a tech issue, it is a gender equality issue. We need to invest in digital literacy programs that target women and need to rethink how we design and deliver financial products. If women aren't accessing these tools, the fault doesn't lie with them, but with the system that was designed without their needs in mind. Financial access is not the same as financial control. Here's a sobering fact. In many cases, even when women have access to financial services, they don't have true financial agency. Let's be honest about the societal structures that still inhibit women's financial freedom. Too often, decisions about money, how it's earned, how it's spent, how it's invested, are still made by men, even in households where women are bringing income. Cultural norms, legal barriers, and patriarchal systems continue to strip women of their ability to fully control their financial lives. In the next decade, we must tackle these deeper, more systemic issues. It's not enough to give women access to finance. We really need to give them full agency over their finances. That means changing laws that prevent women from owning property, investing in women's financial education from a very early age, and pushing back against societal norms that keep women from being financially independent. At the next level, we are also looking at the funding gap for women entrepreneurs. While we've seen an explosion of women entrepreneurs, the harsh reality is women-owned businesses are chronically underfunded. Even in the venture capital world, less than 3% of funding goes towards women-funded startups. These numbers are slightly better for micro and small businesses, but the gap is still glaring. The message is very clear. Women entrepreneurs are not receiving the capital they need to scale their businesses. Why is that? Because the financial system from banks to venture capitalists and everybody in between continues to operate with a bias, however unintentional, they favor men. This one key battleground for the next decade. We need to rethink how we evaluate women-owned businesses. We need to challenge the assumption that women entrepreneurs are higher risk. If we can close the gap for women entrepreneurs, we will unlock a new wave of innovation, job creation, and wealth generation that will benefit everyone. So let's talk about the path forward. What do we do? How do we bridge these gaps over the next decade? First, we need bold and targeted investment. We need to no longer rely on broad-based approaches to financial inclusion. We need to get specific. We need to get targeted investments in the hands of women, particularly in regions and industries where they're underfunded. We need financial products and services designed for women with their needs in mind. We need products that recognize the challenges women face and actually offer real solutions. We also need to make sure that these investments go beyond financial services. Let's invest in the infrastructure that will allow these women to thrive. Digital infrastructure, education, mentorship, networks that connects these women entrepreneurs with resources that they need to grow. Number two, we need women at the table. Systemically, we know governments that prioritize women's financial inclusion, that pass laws ensuring women can own land, inherit property, and access credit without discrimination. We need financial regulations that encourage lending to women entrepreneurs, and we need legal protections that ensure women's financial agency isn't undermined by outdated cultural norms. If we are to see governments and financial institutions prioritize inclusion of women, we must ensure more women at the decision making tables. If we are to radically reframe how we approach systems, then women need to be included from the start. And third and final, we need cultural change. Perhaps the most important we need is a shift in cultural narrative. We need to normalize women's financial power. We need to challenge the societal structures that keep women out of decision making spaces, from boardrooms to their own homes. We need to enable men to become allies in this movement because gender equality in finance benefits everyone. And finally, let's get to the call to action. In the last decade, inclusive finance has brought us far, but not far enough. We've opened the door for women, but it has not been enough. We need to knock the door down. We need to move beyond access and fight for agency. We need to close the digital divide and the funding gap. We need to fundamentally reshape a financial system that far too long has purposefully excluded women. This is not a women's issue. It is a global economic imperative. Women's financial inclusion isn't a nice to have. It is a key to unlocking our collective potential. If we can get this right, the next decade won't just be a chapter in the history of financial inclusion. It will be a revolution of power. So here is a call of action for all of you, that we need to stop talking about inclusion and start acting on it. We should be ready to make bold choices that will finally close the gender gap in finance. Let's all work together because I know we all want to, and get started now. Thank you.